Recording in progress. The Chinese overlords via Zoom watching and listening to everything that we say, Matt. The interpreters are working hard because this broadcast, Market Vitals, this stream, the most important one on the planet. Good morning, Matt. It's Friday and it's Jersey Friday.
Yes.
M go blue, M go fuck yourself, Muck Michigan, Chicago Bears rivalry week. We got the pack. You know, Matt, it was great being a Bear fan in the 60s and 70s when both the Bears, late 60s, I should say.
The Bears.
70s, when the Bears and the Packers both sucked. And the only important game of the year were the games against the Packers. Like, you had to win that game. Fair. You could go 2-14 or 2-12 back then, right? 14-game season. If you beat the Packers twice, didn't matter. You still got your job. Everybody stayed because the Bears sucked so bad. Anyway, looking forward to the Bears pack on Sunday. Your Michigan Wolverines are off. Yeah,
they got a bye week before coming in hot with Northwestern, and then the big game.
Listen to me. Now that
the Paul Bunyan Trophy.
Now that you set that up, nothing will make my year more complete than if the Wildcats upset Michigan.
Anything's possible in the Big Ten. Everybody's trying to beat Michigan every week. So what's new there?
Matt,
it's a make your season type of game for every program.
Let me ask you a question. Did Caesars Sportsbook get a bump because they didn't have to pay off this wager?
Hey, listen, I, as a fan, was like, yes, he went. And then when I saw it, I was like, nah, he didn't. So, and then when they went to the ump, I'm like, he's going to go. And he went, and I was like, okay.
That's Caesars was in his ear. The sportsbook manager is, listen, motherfucker, he is out. We got 512G fucking on this.
But this is misleading because they still had to win the division series or the champion, the National League pennant and the World Series. So
I agree. A lot more baseball was needed to be played.
Let's not go too crazy here.
All right, Matt. Give me a chance.
Here's the deal. What a weird night,
here.
Because not only did this happen, but while we were watching it together and you left before the exciting end again, you always leave at the drama. And you miss it, you miss the good stuff. But because you left after the top of the ninth when the Dodgers took the lead. But the other interesting thing last night was I was like, we flipped on the Buccaneers game and it was 28-7. I'm like, should have taken it. That -7 was so easy. Final score, 28-22. Glad I didn't take it.
How do they know? How do they know?
My Red Wings, who were playing the champion, the Stanley Cup champs from last year, the Tampa Bay Lightning, at home in front of the fans for the first time in 2 years, looking great. Bertuzzi gets a hat trick in the second period, ends up with 4. They were up 4-1 in the second, 4-3 4-1 halfway in the second, 4-3 at the end of the second. Jump back to 6-3. Bertuzzi scores his 4th. And they lose in overtime. They gave up 3 goals in the last 11 minutes to go to overtime and then lost.
Oh, does that make me feel warm? That makes me feel so warm inside. I don't know. Man, let me get my $10 back. Give me the Bears plus 4.5.
Yeah, I'll take Aaron Rodgers over Justin Mrs. Fields.
Right on. And by the way, I got to tell you, tailgate season is great, but tailgate season in October and early November is the best, right? The cool crispness of the fall.
Well, it kind of forces the women out of it too, because it gets cold.
Yeah. So it's just fans, real fans. If you are not barbecuing
in November, it's all men.
If you are not putting Cajun shrimp from Manja TV on the grill at your tailgate, it's an immediate failure, Matt. It's an immediate failure by the Market Vitals crew, the Manja TV crew. You got to have some shrimp mojo going. Shrimp on a stick. You need those things in a tailgate, right? Because you got one hand that's, you got your beer hand and that's got a glove on it, and you got one and you can pull your glove off and eat something. You don't want a fork. You don't want any of that shit at the tailgate, right? You want to be able to drink and eat and put the glove back on. Anyway, shrimp skewer, shrimp mojo. Matt, where are we going now? Oh, you got a prop bet. We're not talking price discovery just yet. You got a prop bet for the Big Ten. Tell me all about it.
I do. I have a prop bet, and there's a couple ways you can play. You can play straight out, game at a time. I like 3 Big Ten games. I like Michigan State at Indiana, given 3.5, looking for their 7th victory in a row. Indiana has been a fizzle, really not doing much this year. I think that 3.5 is generous for Indiana. Like, they're lucky it's only 3.5. So I like Michigan State. I also like Nebraska. They're 3-4 versus Minnesota, 3-2. Minnesota really is not that good. They've lost their running back. Their offense is sputtered. Nobody knows what Nebraska is capable of still. They're not on national TV, and everybody's thinking they're the Nebraska of the last 10 years. They are not. We watched them play last weekend. They have an offense. They will outscore and win by more than 3 points against Minnesota. Rutgers has been losing, right? They're 3-3, but they've lost to Michigan, Ohio State, and Michigan State. This week, they're up against mighty Northwestern, and Northwestern is piss poor. As a matter of fact, Nebraska beat them like 52-6. So take Rutgers in a pick'em game, -1.5. And if you want, I would go a 3-team parlay or a round robin 2-team parlay. So you got 3 teams. All you need to do is get 2 of the 3 to win, and you win that bet too.
Let me ask you a question. What time are they all playing at the same time?
Let's see. Michigan State's 9 a.m., as is Nebraska, as is Rutgers. They're all at the same time.
Yeah,
which is
that's
nice.
I love it when you like that parlay, but they're playing at different times, and you get better bang for your buck if you roll the winnings from one bet to the other.
Well, anyway.
On a time. It's fact. It's not it's a fucking fact.
Yeah. But the rest of the board, I kind of went through it, and I'm like, I don't really love anything. A lot of comeback games. I think Virginia Tech getting 4 is a potential upset special. They're getting 4 at home versus Pittsburgh, and they told the fans.
Fucking Western Michigan beat Pittsburgh.
Right. And that's their only loss. This is what I'm saying. So Virginia Tech, had Notre Dame last week. They're at home again. Enter the Sandman. Tough to bet against them. The Pac-12 tonight, I kind of liked before yesterday. I was looking at this line. It was 13, and now it's up to 14.5, and that's the Oregon Cal game tonight in Eugene. It was 13, now it's 14.5. Makes it a little bit more difficult for me to take the quack. You just never know which team shows up. They should win by 50, and they could lose by. They should win by 50. Could lose by 7. That's the problem with this team.
All right, let me share and let's get to some price discovery. And I want to bring in just a little headline for you to take a look at the oil chart again. I know we look at it. Listen, you got to keep looking at these things, but because this one in particular was eye-opening. September 24th saw the highest amount spent on fuel in a single day. I think that finishes with since Lloyd started tracking it. Anyway, UK fuel and household energy spending soared 20% in the past 2 weeks. But inflation's transitory, and it's not going to be a cold winter, so nobody has to worry about anything. Man, let's look at the crude chart as we close the week out.
Well, since we're talking transitory, let's more importantly, we will get to crude, but let's look at the bonds again. We talked about this earlier in the week. For me to be bullish bonds, they have to close over 160.20. They got close. They got up to 160.10, 11, somewhere in there. Today they've pulled back, and they actually took out yesterday's low, which is not a positive sign. The low before that is back here at 158.15. I'm not saying we're going to get there today, but if we did, it would be really bearish for the bonds, which is higher interest rates, which we need, by the way, because we have rampant inflation going on. This is real, people. It's not going away. And I'm watching the bonds still as a leader. We're up here all day again, still in the indices. They're not giving it up because
take a quick look at it. Yeah. Jump to it.
Everybody likes a rally, but we've traded as high as that number we talked about yesterday, 44.62 or so was the number that we've traded so far. We're pulled back just a little bit. I mean, very dead day again. I mean, it's so strange. We've gone up 3.5% in 2 days, 48 hours. We've gone up 3.5% when it comes to the SPOOs. You can see this move from 43.17 all the way up to 44.62. It's 145 points. Divide that by 43.17, gets you the 3.4% is really where it is. But I'm rounding up. That, my friends, is an unlimited spool cast again, like we've seen multiple times in this not bear market, but we're seeing these wicked rallies that we suggested you will see. It's a difficult time to trade when these markets go up and down so hard. We've had many of these moves, boom, 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 boom. I mean, look at them all. And, not over the 44.71, but trying hard here. It's like I said, it doesn't make much sense when you read the headlines, but that's why the price is the only thing that matters. And it still has not even begun to roll over when it comes to the indices quite yet. The NASDAQ and the Russell are a little weaker today, but not much. Crude made another new high. And again, they're just ticking. Crude's almost trading like the SPOOs were in August. They'd make just a little new high and then sell off. And they did it again here today. It's almost the same strategy you can employ. And this is where, as a trader, 82.50 down to 81.70 here is where we are now. So again, just riding, nothing new. We talked about it. It's a bullish chart. It hasn't turned bearish on any longer term timeframes. This is a 89-minute up and away. Higher energy costs, colder winters coming. Matter of fact, did you see it snowed in Greece yesterday? Yeah,
they must have been freaking the fuck out though.
Yeah, it's snow in Greece, a literal 2 to 3 inches, and huge. Where else were there? Huge hailstorms in Australia yesterday. Sydney, big rain and hailstorms. So the HARP machine is back at it again.
Right on. All right, man. Let's talk just a little bit about we like doing segues to get into a chart, right? And this is going to be a long and convoluted one, and I apologize that. But I just wanted to touch on how fucking much the world is driven not by stories, right, but just by headlines. Like it's just the clickbait headline. How many people actually read the story? And people are so fucking stupid. They just read the headline, and if it comes from Vice, it's got to be true. I mean, they're a news organization, right? And this one in particularly caught my fancy. NBA star Kyrie Irving, a one-time hero of the Black Lives Matter movement, which would indicate that he no longer is a hero of the Black Lives Matter movement, has now become an unlikely hero of the far right. All right. And I want to stick with that first part. All right. And a one-time hero. And we all know that this has to do with his stance on vaccination. Right. So you would conjecture here that Black Lives Matter must be pro-vaccine. I mean, listen, this is nuance. I'm a fairly educated person, not to the degree that Matt Davio is with the University of Michigan degree that he has. I'm just a Bronco, from Kalamazoo, Kallan. I got a girl in Kalamazoo. Anyway, a song for another time, because this is the Black Lives Matter. This is Black Lives Matter. Leader of Black Lives Matter, New York chapter calls vaccine mandates racist and disrespectful. I don't know, man. It's just the upside down world that we live in. And if you're not educated about the fact that we're just preaching narratives through headlines, you're maybe missing something. Anyway, I say all that because in the world of marijuana, there has been nobody farther out front than the NBA on being kosher with marijuana use. Right? They haven't tested for marijuana in their drug policy, maybe ever. If they were going to do it, they did a test run, and 80% of the league would have to sit down because of THC in their bloodstream. Anyway, marijuana legalization, corporate America now leading the way. I love the graphic on the marijuana. Hold on a second, Matt. Before you bring up a price, let me. Let me do a virtual bong hit and let's talk price discovery around pot stocks. What do you got?
Let's just look at the big daddy. Nothing's changed. We talked about this last week. Got off the mat a little bit. There was some news yesterday coming out. Federale is going to free the world with banking laws. Nothing's happened here. Biden's not. I mean, he can't even put on his pants for his Depends right now. So don't expect much to get done in marijuana. It's the least of his priorities. But again, if you're looking for a long-term play, you're back here at 1339, down 2.5% after bumping up to 14.5 earlier in the week. So again, dragging along the bottom. You see this, really, if you want to wait until we break out of the 13 to 15 range, that would be a safe spot. Otherwise, use 13 as your backstop and maybe 1250. Give yourself a little, because there's just not a lot of room here. But this thing has been going down for a long time. Again, we looked at the daily chart, full right side parabola. And if you don't think it can go lower, think again. So that's why I said 13. And you see it very clearly. We're holding here. A lot of hands hold this here at this price, but gets below 13, it'll go to 9. And that's your risk. So I wouldn't stay too much below, say, 1250. Don't get shaken out if it just ticks 13, but you're only talking 80 cents from current prices, which, is a 5 or 6% risk. Not a big thing there, but fully right-sided. Somebody's got to buy it at some point. The Feds will get to it this year, next year. I can't tell you when. Really not on the inside of it. These are more, these are less trading vehicles than today than they are, or they're more long-term than they are trading vehicles.
Right on.
That makes sense.
Right on. All right, Matt, sticking on our theme of bullshit headlines, this one, United CEO confirms 232 employees are being fired for not complying with his vaccine mandate. And then, so you read that and you think that's God's truth. Well, then why, if that's God's truth and the CEO is forthright and generous with his honesty, well, then why is this a headline here? Judge bars United from putting unvaccinated workers on leave. And when you read a little bit of the article, right down here, Matt, it says suing employees are seeking to turn the case in its class action suit. United says here that there's at least 2,000 of its 67,000. Is that important, Matt? That the headline is
the class action says there's at least 2,000 that have signed. Now that they see this on the AP wire, there might be 20,000 that jump on. Vaccinated you could be vaccinated and still join the class action.
I guess that's true. I guess that is true. You can be in synergistic alliance
because your rights are being infringed. That's what they're talking
because
about.
Because it's vaxes this week. What's it next week?
Right.
I don't know. We looked at the airlines earlier in the week.
Let's just look at United. Early in the week, we talked about it when we looked on those airlines Monday, Tuesday, and they've sold off. I mean, they went from 52 down to 47. So 10% on all the, as you said, the to and fro news, both good, bad, ugly. Like I can't decipher what to make out of it. Therefore, again, it's just stuck in the muddle, and it has been for quite some time. If I look at a little longer term chart here, again, just dragging, looks like it to me. It tried to get up there, break out, but it's back into the meat here at the top of the profile. I don't love it long on the longer term chart. It feels heavy, looks heavy. The news is heavy. Gosh, I mean, if you were going to travel with all the stuff that's going on out there, do you think you're thinking about pulling your tickets now? Probably. I mean, it's a I don't know. I don't think
it's a world, Matt, where the worker has way more power than they have in generations. It
kind of reminds me of the 70s, when that was happening, when all the business was going abroad. Now the question is, where's it going? Nobody's working.
Well, not only that, I mean, you have the John Deere, 10,000 workers striking. You shared in the network in the UK, they're looking for 800 butchers to slaughter hogs.
Kellogg's we talked about last week.
Kellogg's, you got the airlines canceling flights because of weather that's not there, so it has to be driven by labor complications. You got the dock workers in Italy. They're blocking the dock. I just saw just in the past hour, New York cab drivers, not only did they get fucked by Uber, apparently there's still a lot of people driving cabs in New York, but slowing and stopping traffic on the Brooklyn Bridge, I believe. I don't know, man. There's a lot of moving parts going on in the world,
Right.
and workers seem to be saying we're going to unite here against these mandates. Anyway, Matt, Bitcoin
Through
on
the
a
roof.
moonshot.
Through the
Bitcoin
roof.
ETF has been green lighted by the CFTC, not the CFTC,
So
by the
tell,
SEC.
tell us about it, since I don't follow it like you do.
Well, there's
You were
been
telling me a little bit. You were telling me a little bit last night.
yeah. For a couple of years, they've been trying to get together and launch ETF, an exchange traded fund. And this is an exchange traded fund, I believe, based on Bitcoin futures. God, I'm having a hard time. Anyway, Matt, you, as well as I know, that the last time that an aggressive don't bet was brought to the market was when the CME launched Bitcoin futures back in 2017, late 17 December. And by the way, it pegged the top the day that they launched the futures. And I had said back then, believe me, and you can pull the footage, that do not underestimate the power of the don't bet, the dark side. I mean, there's a lot of, and the don'ts have been getting crucified recently, Matt, with the meme stocks in general. At the end of the day, I think the smart don't players win. All I'm telling you, if you're a Bitcoin
Hey,
bull,
when did the micro start trading, Bob? This year
that's got to be 2,
was that
3,
March?
4 months ago. And again, another giant don't bet available by the smaller trader, right?
Was that March? Was it March?
I'm not really sure. All I'm saying is everybody immediately assumes that since there's an ETF, it just means there's going to be a bunch of people that come in and buy the ETF.
Right.
And it's going to jam prices higher. Well, you as well as I know that ETFs are one of the shittiest ways to get exposure, right? Because of their fees and the structure of the ETF. And I have personal knowledge of this, man. I bought the triple long crude ETF when crude was going negative. I thought I had a home run, and they just closed the fucking fund, right? They just closed the fund on me. I'm like, how is that possible? I'm buying the low. There's $1 risk here. I think I bought it at 48 cents. I'm like, I can only lose 48 cents. And crude, it has to go back positive. Like, we're not going to stop driving. I mean, oh yeah, guess what? What you don't know is they can just close the ETF if they're underwater, if they mismanaged it. Any number of reasons, they have an out.
Let's look at the chart on Bitcoin. It's has not made a new high. The old high was right around 65,000. We're sitting at 61,350 as we speak, up $4,000. And we were sitting there watching the game. I was like, oh, I had an alert on my, Thinkorswim and on my phone. And I'm like, what's that? I don't really have anything that I'm even thinking about. And I'm like, Bitcoin 60,000. And this was the news. And you educated me on it. Again, the volume here, I've drawn out, there's a couple trend lines. Obviously 65,000 has been breached. Everybody's calling for 70 because we're at 61, I guess. The news is out again. So what's left? And again, here's the thing that I watched. Look at this volume down here. Only time it spikes anymore, it was spiking when it went up. Then we had a large spike when it went down. Huge spike, way more than on the way up, right? And then now as we're going up, it's just dying. The volume's getting lower and lower. Look at that, just declining trend. So in equities, when you have declining volume and higher prices, it's usually a sign of failure, especially when you're getting to the second double top, or rather the double top. So be careful if you're in Bitcoin. For God's sake, take some profit. You're lucky again if you bought it down here at 30,000 and you've doubled your money again. It only took 2 months. Congratulations.
Yeah, solid double. And I will also say that for me on a standard deviation basis, I love the for sure taking profits in a double top when it runs into the standard deviation, Bollinger's, whatever, exhaustion level. And that's going to happen next week as we roll. Bitcoin never sleeps. It trades, the futures don't, but the cash market trades 24/7, 365 days a year. So you got a full Saturday and Sunday for trading pleasure. They could push it up there, but anywhere between that old high at 65,000 and 67,000 is where that band is going to come in. If you're not taking profits there, you're a pig. And that's all I got to say about it. You're a freaking pig. And you need to be on the barbecue at my Sunday tailgate when the Bears get ready to destroy the arch rival Green Bay Packers. Man, did I love it in the 70s when the Packers sucked. I mean, that was just great. When you had Lynn Dickey at quarterback. I mean, how great was it to hate on him?
Yeah, I mean, what have you've had 30 years of great though with between Favre.
I understand that. Yeah, exactly. The Bears have had 5. They've had 30.
You know what they say, living in the past causes depression, living in the future causes anxiety. Live in the now, buddy.
Well, that's why we're going to put some shrimp on the barbecue and watch the Bears kick some ass Sunday at Soldiers Field. Man, do I hope they don't get slaughtered.
They may win this one. You're getting 4.5 points. So even if they lose by field goal, somehow you come out victorious.
Somehow, some way.
Somehow.
All right, Matt. Good luck on the refresh my memory on the parlay. Michigan State, Nebraska, and
Michigan State, Nebraska, and Rutgers.
Rutgers, the pride and joy of New Jersey.
Michigan State is giving 3.5. Nebraska.
I'm on it, dude. I'm gonna parlay the shit out of that.
Nebraska 2.5 and Rutgers 1.5. They're all.
And then we got you got the Pack minus 4.5, and God willing. Thank you, Matt. Please visit it at marketvitals.io. Please share the podcast, the stream, whichever way you partake in the content. Feel free to reach out and ask our analysis of any symbol that you care to ask about, whether it be street corner Quaaludes or some incredible stock that somebody has tipped you off at your prayer group. Matt, thank you. Have a great weekend.
Peace, Bob.